blood in the streets, gunshots echoing through Memphis night. Two rappers once circling the same throne, now locked in a rivalry that split loyalties, sparked bullets, and ended in tragedy. On one side, the up-and-coming independent champ, fearless and proud, climbing fast while carving his own lane. On the other, the established heavyweight, used to respect and dominance, stung when the crown began to shift. Whispers said it was business. Others said it was betrayal. Everyone heard the diss tracks, but no one heard the truth ringing louder than the bullets. What started as a contract declined turned into a war of pride, street cred, and rumored bounties. One life would pay the ultimate price. Tonight, we go beyond the headlines, beyond the rumors, digging into what really went down between young Dolph and Yo Gotti. By 2014, young Dolph was making waves as a rising independent artist from Memphis, hungry to claim his spot in the rap scene. The tension with Yo Gotti reportedly began when Dolph publicly turned down an offer to join Gotti's record label. In a city where respect and loyalty are currency, saying no to one of Memphis' biggest names didn't read as business. It was a bold challenge. Dolph's refusal sent ripples through the streets and immediately painted him as someone unwilling to bow to the established hierarchy. As Dolph's star rose, he leaned into the defiance. In 2016, he released his debut studio album titled King of Memphis, a title that many saw as more than just a marketing move. Yo Gotti had long been seen as the king of the city, and Dolph's declaration was a direct challenge. The album's success and the boldness of the name only deepened the tension. Insiders say that even early on, some of Gotti's associates took offense, seeing Dolph's ascent as a threat that couldn't be ignored. What began as a professional disagreement escalated into public jabs and social media disses. Diss tracks became the weapons of choice, each line loaded with barbs aimed at credibility, street status, and reputation. In 2017, young Dolph released tracks that mocked Gotti personally, even using imagery in music videos to push the provocation further. The feud was no longer contained to studios and microphones. It had become a dangerous, living narrative. The violence that followed confirmed that this was no ordinary rap rivalry. Dolph survived an ambush in Charlotte, North Carolina, where his SUV was hit by over 100 bullets. Miraculously, he walked away unscathed, but the message was clear. This feud was deadly serious. Instead of backing down, Dolph turned survival into legend, doubling down on his defiance and further enraging Gotti's camp. What had started as a rejection of a record deal had transformed into a full-blown war, a mix of music, pride, loyalty, and the very real threat of bullets on the streets. The seeds of the young Dolph and Yo Gotti feud were planted long before the shots rang out. Back in 2014, Memphis streets and studios buzzed with whispers about a rising independent artist who refused to bow to the city's established power. Young Dolph had been offered a spot on Yo Gotti's label, an opportunity that could have fast-tracked his career. But Dolph, always fiercely independent, declined. In the world they lived in, a simple no wasn't just a business decision. It was a statement, one that could be seen as disrespectful, even dangerous. From that moment, lines were drawn. As Dolph's career took off, he embraced the tension, using it to fuel his music and image. His 2016 album, King of Memphis, was more than a debut. It was a challenge. By calling himself king, Dolph was claiming a throne already guarded by Gotti's legacy. Fans and insiders alike noticed the audacity, and for many, it was a spark that ignited the brewing war. Gotti's camp reportedly took offense, seeing Dolph's rise as a direct threat to the hierarchy in Memphis rap. While the rivalry simmered, the streets took notice. Diss tracks, social media jabs, and subtle digs became the language of the feud. Dolph was relentless, his lyrics dripping with confidence and defiance, signaling he wouldn't back down for anyone, no matter how powerful. Gotti, experienced and strategic, chose silence at first, letting the storm brew while his associates monitored every move. That silence wasn't weakness. It was a calculated observation, a way to measure Dolph's audacity against the weight of his own reputation. Things escalated quickly. By early 2017, Dolph released a track that openly mocked Gotti, pushing the feud into the public eye. The provocation was clear, and it reached beyond music. Soon after, reports emerged of an ambush on Dolph's SUV in Charlotte, North Carolina. Over 100 bullets hit the vehicle, but Dolph survived unscathed. To some, it was proof of street luck. To others, proof that this was no longer just a rap rivalry. It had become life and death. Rather than retreat, Dolph leaned into the danger. He doubled down on his independent hustle, touring, dropping tracks, and turning each close call into part of his legend. The defiance only fueled speculation that Gotti's camp was actively plotting retaliation, and rumors of armed escorts, planned attacks, and revenge schemes circulated in both the streets and online communities. Every move Dolph made became a statement of resilience, while Gotti's silence only amplified the tension. By this point, the feud had transcended music. It was about reputation, power, and survival. Friends and associates on both sides carried weapons as a precaution, and simple studio sessions or public appearances could turn into high-stakes encounters. The rivalry was no longer contained to tracks and bars. It had spilled into every corner of Memphis, from neighborhood streets to sold-out arenas, creating an atmosphere where any misstep could escalate into violence. Through it all, Dolph's unwavering confidence and Gotti's calculated patience painted a picture of two kings circling each other, each unwilling to surrender ground. Memphis watched closely, and the world started to take notice. What had started as a rejected contract had grown into a saga defined by ambition, pride, and the dangerous dance of two artists willing to risk everything for supremacy. By 2017, the young Dolph and Yo Gotti feud had evolved from tension and diss tracks into something far more dangerous. What began as a rejection and a bold album title had grown into a full-blown war of street credibility, pride, and survival. Memphis streets, once buzzing with music and ambition, now carried whispers of bullets and retaliation. Both camps were on high alert. Every public appearance became a potential threat, and every handshake or passing glance carried weight. The first major violent incident cemented the feud as something more than music. While on tour in Charlotte, North Carolina, young Dolph's SUV was ambushed with over 100 bullets. Miraculously, he survived, but the attack sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. Street rumors immediately suggested that individuals from Gotti's camp were behind it, a retaliation for Dolph's diss tracks and rising prominence. The incident was no longer theoretical. The feud had real-life stakes. Dolph's reaction was bold. Rather than retreating, he posted videos and social media messages that flaunted his survival, almost daring his enemies. That defiance became a defining characteristic of his persona. Insiders say his team beefed up security, but Dolph himself remained unshaken, proving he wasn't just surviving. He was thriving under pressure. His courage and resilience turned him into a street legend almost overnight, and the ambush only deepened the animosity from Gotti's camp. Yo Gotti, meanwhile, maintained public composure, downplaying the feud in interviews and statements. But behind the scenes, sources claim his associates were active, monitoring Dolph's movements and preparing countermeasures. Every rumor of a potential strike, every leaked social media diss, only added tension. The city streets became a digital and real battlefield, with fans and insiders speculating about hidden attacks, retaliation plans, and secret meetings. The feud was no longer entertainment. It was a war game where every move was scrutinized and every misstep could be deadly. Social media intensified the drama. Fans dissected every track and post, looking for hidden shots at the other camp. Diss tracks were loaded with veiled threats, taunts, and coded messages. What some dismissed as lyrical bravado was, in the streets, taken as serious warnings. Security details, armored vehicles, and constant vigilance became part of Dolph's daily routine, while the shadow of potential retaliation hung over every outing. By late 2017, rumors circulated that peace talks had been attempted but failed. Allegedly, Dolph reached out to certain members of Gotti's camp, seeking to reduce tensions or negotiate a truce, but the attempts were rebuffed. Many in Gotti's circle reportedly feared that any public reconciliation would be interpreted as weakness, undermining their control and street respect. The rejection only hardened Dolph's resolve, fueling more aggressive releases and further inflaming the rivalry. The feud now encompassed music, streets, and reputation. Fans watched closely as both camps maneuvered with calculated aggression. Each diss track, each appearance, each whispered rumor became part of the growing legend, a saga of two kings unwilling to cede ground. Memphis had become a city where ambition met danger at every corner, and the feud between young Dolph and Yo Gotti was at the heart of it all, teetering on the edge between rivalry and catastrophe. By the end of 2017, it was clear that this wasn't just a story of music and fame, it was about dominance, survival, and pride. Both sides had proven they were willing to risk everything for supremacy, and the city watched, captivated and anxious, as the war quietly raged beneath the spotlight. By 2018, the feud between young Dolph and Yo Gotti had reached a boiling point. The city of Memphis and the broader hip-hop world watched as the tension moved from whispers to open challenges. Diss tracks had become more than just music. They were statements of power, territorial claims, and veiled warnings. Every release by Dolph carried a swaggering defiance, a proclamation that he would not bow to anyone, and the streets were listening carefully. Dolph's music reflected the constant pressure he faced. Lyrics were laced with references to survival, loyalty, and retaliation, signaling that every line was more than just entertainment. It was a coded message to Gotti and his camp. Rumors circulated that certain tracks were written in direct response to threats, and that some lyrics contained references to past attacks, allies, and plans. For fans, it was artistry. For insiders, it was communication, a dangerous conversation played out over beats and bars. Gotti, for his part, continued to wield silence as a weapon. Publicly, he maintained composure, appearing above the drama and refusing to engage in social media back and forths. But behind the scenes, sources say his team was highly active, monitoring Dolph's movements, coordinating security, and responding to any perceived slight. Rumors spread that the feud had grown beyond music into organized street-level strategies, where every gathering, performance, or travel route could be under surveillance. As tensions escalated, both camps reportedly tightened their networks. Associates and friends carried weapons, scouted locations, and prepared for confrontations. Sources whispered about intercepted messages, late-night meetings, and heated confrontations at clubs and events. Even casual outings like studio visits or shopping trips became high-stakes exercises in vigilance. Dolph's image as fearless was tested constantly, while Gotti's camp operated quietly, ensuring their presence was felt without drawing unnecessary attention. The public escalation mirrored the street reality. Diss tracks dropped with precise timing, social media posts hinted at hidden attacks, and fans eagerly dissected every word for hidden meaning. Memes, comments, and fan speculation amplified the conflict, but the underlying danger was real. Each new release by Dolph felt like a provocation, and every alleged retaliation plan by Gotti's camp kept the tension smoldering. Observers noted that Memphis had become a city on edge, with music and violence intertwined in ways rarely seen. Rumors even suggested that outside forces, other local rappers, neighborhood crews, and business allies had taken sides, intensifying the stakes. Loyalty became a commodity, and choosing the wrong side could have life-threatening consequences. Some insiders claimed that attempts to broker peace were quietly sabotaged, either by distrust or by individuals seeking to benefit from the chaos. The feud had become a complex web of pride, strategy, and survival instincts. By the end of this period, it was clear that the young Dolph versus Yo Gotti saga had grown beyond simple rivalry. It had transformed into a high-stakes battle for supremacy, respect, and survival. Every diss track, every street rumor, and every narrow escape fed into the growing legend of two kings unwilling to surrender their claims to Memphis' throne. What had begun as a rejected contract and an audacious album title had spiraled into a deadly mix of music, reputation, and real-world danger, a story that would continue to shock the city and the world. As 2018 unfolded, the feud between young Dolph and Yo Gotti escalated into something that went beyond music and into the streets. What had once been diss tracks and social media jabs now carried real-life consequences, and the city of Memphis felt the weight of the rivalry. Rumors of retaliation swirled constantly, with both camps keeping a careful eye on each other, ready to react to any perceived slight. It was no longer a war fought in studios. It was a war fought with loyalty, intimidation, and the constant threat of violence. Reports from the streets suggested that Dolph's team was increasingly cautious. Every public appearance required heightened security measures, armored vehicles, and strategic planning. Friends and associates often acted as scouts, watching for potential ambushes, and even routine trips to restaurants or studios carried an air of danger. For young Dolph, the line between personal life and street life blurred, forcing him to adopt a constant state of vigilance. Every lyric, every tweet, and every public move was calculated with the awareness that enemies were watching. Meanwhile, whispers in Gotti's camp suggested that retaliation was not just expected, it was a duty. Allegedly, certain associates were tasked with tracking Dolph's movements, monitoring his concerts, and ensuring that the message was clear. Disrespect would not go unanswered. Though Gotti himself maintained a composed public image, sources close to him claimed that the situation was being handled meticulously behind the scenes. This quiet, calculated approach contrasted sharply with Dolph's bold, confrontational style, creating a high-stakes chess game with real lives on the line. The feud also attracted attention from other Memphis artists and crews, who reportedly began taking sides. Alliances formed, loyalties were tested, and rumors of street-level confrontations began circulating. Even outside Memphis, fans and followers dissected every post and track for hidden meaning, while speculation about planned hits, bounties, and retaliatory attacks grew. The feud had become a spectacle, one part hip-hop drama, one part street war, and it seemed that every rumor carried the weight of possibility. Amid all this, young Dolph's image as fearless and untouchable only intensified. Surviving the Charlotte ambush had made him a legend, and each new confrontation, whether verbal or rumored, reinforced his reputation. Tracks released during this time reflected the tension. Lyrics about survival, loyalty, and retaliation were not abstract. They were grounded in real threats and experiences. Fans debated whether each bar was a threat, a response, or simply pride, while the streets understood that the stakes were real and deadly. Even as rumors of violent retaliation circulated, both camps reportedly tried to avoid outright confrontation in public spaces, aware that any misstep could escalate into something catastrophic. Yet the very nature of the feud made this impossible. Insiders say there were several close calls, near misses at clubs, street encounters, and intercepted communications that nearly ignited open conflict. Every success Dolph had, every crowd he drew, every headline he made, was a reminder that Gotti's camp would not simply ignore him. By the end of 2018, the lines between music, street reputation, and survival were inseparable. The feud had moved far beyond business disagreements or album titles. It had become a story of pride, dominance, and the lengths people would go to defend their name. For Memphis, it was a cautionary tale. For the hip-hop world, it was a saga of ambition and danger, with two kings unwilling to surrender their throne. By 2019, the feud between young Dolph and Yo Gotti had left an indelible mark on Memphis and the hip-hop world. What started as a rejected record deal and bold album titles had transformed into a saga of survival, pride, and street-level danger. Fans, insiders, and rivals alike watched closely, knowing that the tension between the two camps could erupt at any moment. The city had become a pressure cooker, and the heat was relentless. Despite the constant threats, young Dolph remained defiant. He continued touring, releasing music, and asserting his independence. Each song, each appearance, reinforced the narrative that he would not bow to anyone, no matter the danger. Rumors persisted that he had allies in every corner of Memphis, ready to back him up if tensions boiled over. At the same time, whispers circulated about potential retaliation from Gotti's camp, feeding speculation and keeping the feud alive in the streets and online. Gotti, for his part, maintained his calm public image, but insiders suggested that his camp was vigilant and calculated. Every social media post by Dolph, every concert, and every public appearance was monitored. Some said Gotti preferred to let Dolph overextend himself, believing that his own patience and connections would eventually give him the upper hand. Others speculated that the feud had escalated beyond control and that the lines between strategy and street vengeance had blurred. Tragedy loomed. By this point, both camps had experienced near misses, ambushes, and life-threatening encounters. The streets had become a game of cat and mouse, where loyalty, timing, and instinct meant everything. Fans debated endlessly over who would ultimately dominate Memphis, but for those involved, the stakes were far higher than fame or bragging rights. They were about survival and reputation. Rumors of planned attacks and threats persisted, giving the feud a constant, dangerous undercurrent. Then came the moments that would define the legacy of this rivalry. While Dolph continued to release music that celebrated his independence and strength, the shadow of the feud loomed larger. Gotti's influence in Memphis remained, but Dolph's fearless approach had earned him the love of fans and the respect of many in the street community. Yet, the conflict had reached a point where neither side could truly disengage. Every new song, every public statement, every rumor was a reminder that the feud was far from over. Ultimately, the young Dolph versus Yo Gotti story became a cautionary tale about pride, ambition, and the dangerous intersection of music and street power. It highlighted the cost of defiance in a city where reputation is everything and where refusing to submit to an established king can ignite a war. While Dolph's independence and resilience earned him legendary status, the feud also illustrated how quickly ambition and ego can escalate into life-threatening conflict. Even after reconciliation talks and rumored truces, the tension never fully dissipated. The legacy of the rivalry lives on in music, in Memphis streets, and in the stories told by fans and insiders. Young Dolph's life and career, defined by bravery and boldness, are forever intertwined with the narrative of this feud, a saga of ambition, respect, danger, and the harsh realities of chasing the crown in Memphis. The story of young Dolph and Yo Gotti is more than just a feud. It's a window into the dangerous world where music, street life, and ambition collide. Two kings, each claiming their throne, forced to navigate loyalty, respect, and survival in a city where one wrong move could cost everything. It's a tale of pride, of independence, and of the high price that comes with standing your ground. For young Dolph, every track, every concert, and every bold decision was a statement. I will not bow, I will not yield, and I will rise on my own terms. But it's also a reminder that in the streets, words can be as lethal as bullets, and ambition can make friends into enemies. The feud between Dolph and Gotti teaches us that power and respect are never given. They are fought for, defended, and sometimes paid for with blood. If you've been captivated by this saga, don't let the story end here. Dive deeper into the lives, the music, and the streets that shaped these legends. Share this story, comment your thoughts, and stay tuned for more deep dives into the rivalries, drama, and truth behind the headlines of hip-hop. Memphis may have been the stage, but the story echoes far beyond.